At 1:31 p.m. on a Wednesday, 285 warehouses across 12 states went dark simultaneously. By 2 p.m., $45 million in credit vanished off the books. By 2:15, 850 trucks were making U-turns on highways across America. I know because I was the one who let it happen, standing on a sidewalk, lighting a cigarette, watching the building I'd kept alive for 17 years start to choke. Here's how it started. My name is Gary Kowalski, 54 years old. I've been running operations at Great Plains Industrial Transport for 17 years. Before that, 8 years as an industrial mechanic at an auto parts plant in Detroit, started on the floor, learned what breaks, learned why, worked my way up. No MBA. No internship, just concrete floors and early mornings. I'm the reason 285 warehouses across 12 states run on schedule. I'm the reason our drivers don't end up stranded in Nebraska with a busted forklift and no spare parts. I know this operation the way a surgeon knows a patient. He's been treating for 2 decades, every quirk, every workaround, everything that looks fine on paper, but will blow up on a Tuesday if you don't catch it. So when Lacey Harmon, our new CEO, 27 years old, Stanford Business School blazer made from recycled plastic bottles, called me into her glass office at 1:15 that Wednesday, I already knew what was coming. I just didn't know how bad her timing was. The office smelled like essential oils and overpriced coffee. She pressed her palms together and said, "Gary, we've been doing a deep assessment of the company's energy flow, and honestly, your management style feels very legacy-based. It doesn't align with our pivot toward collaborative optimization." I stared at her. "You're firing me because of my management style." "It's not termination," she said. Her voice had that practiced smoothness they must teach somewhere. "It's a realignment. We're realigning you to find an organization that better matches your operational frequency." I looked at the clock on the wall. 1:15 p.m. Here's the thing nobody in that room knew except me. The daily inventory sync, the digital heartbeat of this entire operation, was scheduled to run its authentication protocol at exactly 1:30 p.m. every single day. And it required my biometric access, my thumbprint, my username, my presence. Without it, the system doesn't pause, it doesn't wait. It assumes a hostile security breach and locks down everything. Shipping manifests frozen. Credit line connections cut. Trucks rerouted. Forklifts locked. The whole machine just stops. I'd built that failsafe myself back in 2009. Wrote the script, set the parameters, designed it so the system couldn't run without someone who actually understood it, signing off every single day. It was my way of making sure nobody could ever run this network on autopilot. Lacey had no idea any of that existed. I stood up, didn't yell, didn't slam anything. Just reached into my jacket, pulled out my security badge, the one with clearance levels higher than hers, and slid it across her bamboo desk. "You've got 15 minutes, I said. She blinked. 15 minutes for what? Before the ghost in the machine realizes I'm gone. That legacy system you hate, it runs on 20-year-old code, 3 backup servers in a basement in Kansas City, and my personal authentication. If I don't authorize the 1:30 sync, the system assumes hostile takeover. It cuts the connection to our lenders, freezes the shipping manifests. Trucks stop. Forklifts lock." She laughed, nervous. "You're bluffing. The IT team assured me everything is cloud native now." "The IT team? You mean the 3 guys you hired because they had cool tattoos and said they knew blockchain?" I walked out, past the open floor plan, past the rows of people staring at laptops, into the elevator, 40 seconds down to the lobby. Dale Pruitt was at the security desk working his crossword. He'd been sitting at that desk for 15 years, knew every face in the building. "Leaving early, Mr. Gary?" "Permanent vacation, Dale." I set my company credit card on his desk. Lacey's call. "Apparently I'm bad for the energy around here." Dale looked at the card, then back at me. "That girl wouldn't know logistics if it ran her over with a semi. You take care of yourself." "She'll be fine," I said, eventually. I pushed through the revolving doors and hit the sidewalk at 1:29 p.m. 1 minute later, my phone buzzed. The short, long pattern I'd set years ago for system alerts. Alert, sync authorization missing. Warehouse 117. Warehouse 118. Warehouse 119. The list kept going. All 285 of them rolling in one after another like a slow avalanche. I lit a cigarette and looked up at that glass tower. 35 floors of lights. Somewhere up there, a dashboard was turning red. The operations group chat started moving. A chat I'd technically been removed from, but the system hadn't updated my permissions yet. Phil VP Ops. Why is Chicago distribution showing zero inventory? Michelle, HR, is this a glitch? Dashboard shows negative stock across the board. Lacey CEO, who has Gary's override code. Someone call him right now. Override code. I almost smiled. It wasn't something you wrote on a sticky note. It was knowing that the scanner in Bay 12 of the Texas hub reads double on Tuesdays because of sun glare, and you manually correct by 8%. It was knowing the emergency reset wasn't a button. It was a command line script I wrote in 2012 called Nuclear Option XE. They didn't fire an employee. They lobotomized the operating system. My phone started ringing. Lacey, I let it go to voicemail, put the truck in drive, and pulled into traffic. Here's what Lacey didn't understand about a logistics network. It's not a spreadsheet. It's not an app you can restart. It's a living system with 10,000 moving parts that have been tuned and adjusted over years by people who actually showed up and touched the thing with their hands. The legacy system wasn't just counting boxes. It was a translator. It took raw data from our older conveyor systems and warehouse scanners, equipment that predated smartphones, and converted it into clean formatted numbers that the banks needed to see every hour. Without my authentication running the data scrubbing scripts in the background, the raw feed hit the main server for the first time in history. And raw data from a 20-year-old conveyor system looks like garbage. Double counts, missing SKUs. Timestamps out of sequence. The system saw all of it, didn't recognize any of it, and did exactly what I designed it to do when something looked wrong. It went into safe mode. In safe mode, everything gets flagged as missing or quarantined. Theft prevention, it's a good protocol. I wrote it myself in 2011 after we had a problem at the Iowa facility. Works perfectly unless the person who knows how to override it just handed in his badge. By 1:45 p.m., a sales rep in Detroit was probably trying to process a standard order for industrial welding equipment. He'd type in the SKU, hit enter, and watch the screen blink. Error, zero stock available. He'd check again, stock location unknown status, missing. He'd look out the window at the parking lot, then back at the screen, then probably spill his coffee. Multiply that by 285 warehouses. Every single item in the system had vanished into thin air. I was merging onto the interstate when the next wave of messages came through the group chat. Phil VP Ops. This isn't a glitch. Everything is showing quarantined. All 285 locations. Brian Finance, the lender dashboard, is showing a collateral warning. This is not good. Lacey CEO. IT team is working on it. Everyone stay calm. This is a temporary sync issue. Temporary sync issue? Sure. We operated on a $45 million revolving credit line. The lenders had an algorithm, not a person, an algorithm that pinged our inventory levels every hour to verify we had enough collateral to cover our outstanding loans. If inventory dropped below a certain threshold, the credit line froze automatically. No phone call, no warning. Just frozen. At 20 p.m., inventory didn't drop below the threshold. It hit zero. According to every system the lenders could see, Great Plains Industrial Transport owned absolutely nothing. No product, no stock. No assets beyond some leased office furniture and a collection of meditation cushions on the 35th floor. The credit line froze at 2:03 p.m. I know the exact time because Phil texted me from a personal number 2 minutes later. Gary, credit line is gone. Lacey is on the phone with the bank screaming. The IT guys are trying to access the back end, and one of them just said, I'm quoting here, "This system isn't on any cloud platform I've ever seen. Where are you?" I didn't reply. I just kept driving at 2:15. The automated dispatch system did its scheduled update. GPS coordinates for every truck in the fleet cross-referenced against current inventory status. Since inventory showed zero across the board, the system logic was straightforward. All trucks must be running empty. Standard protocol for empty trucks returned to base immediately. 850 trucks, all of them mid-route, all of them getting the same instruction at the same time. The radio came on with a traffic update before I even had time to think about it. We're getting reports of significant and unusual congestion building on multiple routes into the industrial corridor. Drivers are reporting large numbers of commercial trucks appearing to reverse direction simultaneously. If you're headed into the distribution district, expect major delays. I turned up the volume. Then my phone buzzed with a message from a number I knew immediately. Steve Okafor, one of my drivers, Iowa-Chicago run, 12 years with the company. Solid guy. 2 kids in middle school, wife's a nurse at a clinic in Cedar Rapids. He'd shown up through a February ice storm 2 years ago because the load was medical supplies and he didn't want the hospital to go without. Mr. Gary. GPS is telling me to turn around. I'm on I-80 with a full load of water filtration equipment for a children's hospital in Joliet. They need it before 5 p.m. I've seen the alerts coming in. I don't know what's happening, but I'm not turning this truck around. Tell me what you want me to do. I pulled into a gas station and typed back fast. Keep going to Joliet. Disable the auto GPS. Use the paper atlas in your side compartment. You still have that. Always. Deliver the load. Don't call dispatch. Call me when you're done. His reply took about 10 seconds. Copy. Knew you wouldn't leave us out here. I sat in that parking lot for a moment after that. Steve wasn't the only driver I knew by name. I knew most of them. Knew who had kids, who was working through a rough year, who was saving for something. These weren't entries in a workforce database. They were people who showed up in all weather because they trusted that someone on the other end had the operation under control. Lacey had called my approach legacy-based. I called it knowing who you're responsible for. I pulled back onto the interstate and drove north. The city skyline shrank in the mirror. More alerts kept rolling in. A voicemail from Lacey I didn't bother playing until I hit the next ramp. Her voice was tight. Controlled, but barely. Gary, this is Lacey. There seems to be a synchronization issue with our data infrastructure. We need your access credentials immediately. If you don't respond within 5 minutes, I will be contacting our legal team. I set the phone face down in the cup holder. You cannot sue someone for the contents of their own memory. I drove another 40 minutes before I turned off onto the gravel road that leads up to the cabin. Hank Kowalski's cabin wasn't some weekend getaway. It was a place built to last, cedar and fieldstone, sitting on a ridge above a lake that looked like hammered steel in the late afternoon light. No neighbors for half a mile, the kind of quiet that makes you remember what quiet actually feels like. My dad founded Great Plains Industrial Transport 30 years ago with 2 trucks, a used desk, and a herniated disc he got loading freight by hand because he couldn't yet afford a forklift. He retired 3 years ago and handed control to the board with one condition. Don't touch operations. Let Gary run the engine. You handle the paperwork and stay out of his way. The board said yes. Then they hired Lacey. I parked next to his old Chevy Silverado and walked up to the porch. Dad was sitting in his usual chair, cleaning his fishing gear. He looked up when he heard my boots on the steps. Didn't say anything right away. Just looked at me the way he always did when he already knew something was wrong and was waiting for me to confirm it. You're supposed to be in the 130 sync, he said. Got realigned. My operational frequency was too legacy-based, blocking the collaborative flow. He set down the fishing reel slowly. Lacey fired you on a Wednesday, before the sync. Gave me 15 minutes to transition holistically. He didn't yell. Dad never yelled. He just went very quiet. That was always worse. He was silent for a moment, doing the math in his head. He knew the system. He'd watched me build half of it. He understood exactly what a missed 130 sync meant, what it did to the inventory data, what it did to the collateral numbers the lenders were watching. Lenders? He asked. Frozen about an hour ago? Trucks? U-turns on I-7? Probably made the traffic report. He reached over to the small table beside his chair, picked up a bottle of bourbon and poured 2 glasses. No ice. Pushed one across to me and took a long, slow sip of his. You warned her. Told her she had 15 minutes. She asked if I wanted to take a mindfulness break to process the transition energy. He looked out at the lake for a while without saying anything. 2 eagles were working a thermal up over the tree line, circling without effort. The whole place felt 1,000 miles from whatever was happening on the 35th floor of that building. I built that company with blood and missed birthdays, he said finally. His voice was quiet, almost like he was talking to himself. Missed your high school graduation to lock in the Midwest distribution contract. Missed your mother's anniversary to fix the routing algorithm when that ice storm came through in 2019. Slept on a cot in the Milwaukee warehouse 3 winters in a row because someone had to be there when the generators went down. He turned and looked at me. I handed them something that worked, told them exactly how to keep it working. And the first thing they did was fire the man who knew where every single bolt was. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the satellite phone he kept up here, the only thing that got a signal reliably this far from the highway. He started dialing with the slow, deliberate precision of a man who has made important phone calls before and knows not to rush them. Who are you calling? I asked. Roy Dalton, then the bank, then probably my lawyer. Roy was chairman of the board, had been for 6 years. Smart enough to know when something was wrong, but not close enough to the operation to understand how wrong. When Roy picked up, Dad's voice shifted into something I recognized from childhood. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a specific kind of flat and certain that meant there was no negotiating with what came next. Roy, it's Hank. Stop talking and listen carefully. Lacey just cut the central nervous system out of this company. Don't put me on hold. Don't transfer me to Lacey. She doesn't understand what's happening, and neither do you. Apparently, pull the audit logs right now. Find the termination entry for user Gary admin prime. Look at the timestamp. When you see it, you'll understand why everyone in that building is panicking. He listened for a moment. Then he almost smiled, not a warm smile. Fix it, Roy? Nobody in that building can fix it. The IT team you're so proud of is currently trying to force access a system they've never seen before. If they push the wrong command, they don't pause the database. They wipe it. Permanently. Every shipping record, every inventory log, every lender report going back 17 years gone. Another pause. There is exactly one person on this planet who can walk this back cleanly. He's sitting on my porch right now. You'd better hope he's in a reasonable mood. Dad hung up and looked at me with that flat expression he used when the outcome of something was already decided in his mind and he was just waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. Emergency board meeting. Conference call. 10 minutes. You sure about this? I asked. Gary. He refilled his glass. You've been keeping that company breathing for 17 years. You drove through a blizzard in 2018 to manually restart generators in Milwaukee. You flew to Texas on a Saturday in 2021 because a hub manager quit without notice and someone had to be there for Monday morning. You haven't taken a full week off since 2016. He set the bottle down. You're not asking for a favor. You're presenting an invoice. The satellite phone rang 8 minutes later. Dad put it on speaker and set it on the table between us. The static crackled through the quiet cabin like something alive. Gary, you there? Roy's voice. Tight. The kind of tight that comes from watching numbers fall in real time. We need to resolve this immediately. The lenders are threatening to accelerate the loan. We're losing money every minute. Sounds rough, Roy, I said. It's real peaceful out here, though. What do you want, Gary? Roy asked. No more small talk. Good. I respected that. I looked at Dad. He gave one slow nod. First, I don't come back as an employee. I come back as vice president of operations. My salary triples, with a 12-month contract paid up front, non-negotiable. A pause. That's a significant increase. The trucks are stopped, Roy. 850 of them. You want to talk salary structure or get freight moving again? Done. Agreed. Too fast. I should have asked for quadruple. Second, complete operational autonomy. No energy assessments, no mindfulness check-ins, no agile sprints run by people who've never touched a pallet jack. I hire my old team back immediately. Phil Mercer, Brenda Voss, all of them 30% raises across the board and written apologies from the board of directors. On letterhead, HR policy clearly. Roy. I kept my voice even. Right now your trucks are sitting on American highways like very expensive lawn ornaments. You want to discuss HR policy or get this company moving? More muffled noise in the background. Someone typing fast, someone else talking over them. Fine, agreed. Third condition? Third, and this one doesn't move. Lacey gets removed from all operational oversight. She cannot contact me, email me, or make suggestions about how this operation runs. Not in meetings, not in memos, not in the hallway. She can keep her title and sit in her glass office and tend her plants until you figure out what to do with her long term. But she does not touch operations. Not one decision, not one comment. The silence on the other end stretched long enough that I could hear someone's chair shift. She's family, Gary, Roy said carefully. She's a liability with an MBA, Dad said, leaning toward the phone. Do it, Roy, or I sell my 40% stake first thing tomorrow morning and we see how the market reacts to a founder liquidating his entire position during an active credit freeze. Roy went quiet for a moment. When he came back, his voice had changed. The negotiating tone was gone. What was left was just a tired man trying to stop the bleeding. We'll restructure her role. Strategic partnerships, external vision development, fully separated from operations and reporting. In writing, I said, in the contract. Not a conversation, not an understanding, in writing. In writing. Yes. Gary, when can you be here? We are losing thousands of dollars per minute. The lenders want a status call in 90 minutes. I picked up my bourbon glass and finished what was left in it. Roy, I have to be honest with you. My energy needs to be physically present to facilitate a holistic system restoration. The operational chakras require manual realignment on site. I paused. Isn't that how it works now? Dad put his hand over his mouth. Gary, draft the contracts. Send them to my father's fax number. When I have signed copies in hand, I get in the truck, not before. I ended the call. Dad looked at me for a second, then let out a laugh that probably carried across the lake. The kind of laugh that comes from somewhere deep and doesn't apologize for itself. Operational chakras, he said. Seemed appropriate. He stood up slowly, knees cracking, and clapped me once on the shoulder. We went inside while the fax machine on his desk, a machine he'd had since 2003 and refused to replace because it had never once failed him, warmed up and waited. The contracts came through 22 minutes later. 4 pages. I read every line. Dad, read it after me. We made one small change to the termination clause, faxed back our initials, and got the countersigned version 11 minutes after that. I folded my copy, put it in my jacket pocket, and picked up my keys. You want to ride along? I asked. Wouldn't miss it, Dad said, and grabbed his own keys off the hook by the door. We pulled into the Great Plains parking lot that evening. Every floor of the building was lit. The place looked like it was running a full overnight operation, except instead of productivity, it was running on pure panic. Dad pulled his Silverado in next to my truck, and we walked in together. Dale Pruitt was still at the security desk. It was well past his normal shift, but he was still there, crossword folded on the desk in front of him, watching the parade of executives cycling through the lobby with the calm expression of a man who had seen a lot of things in 15 years and was not particularly surprised by any of them. When he saw me come through the revolving door, he stood up straight. Welcome back, Mr. Gary. Quite an afternoon still standing, Dale. Barely, he said, and glanced toward the elevators. They've had 3 different IT vendors up there in the last 2 hours. Last one I heard told him the system wasn't documented anywhere he could find. It's not, I said. I documented it in my head. He nodded like that made complete sense. Because to him, it did. We took the elevator to the 35th floor. The smell hit before the doors finished opening stale coffee, recycled air, and the specific tension of a room full of people who have been waiting for someone else to solve their problem. Lacey's glass pod was packed. Roy, the full board, the legal team, 2 people I didn't recognize who were probably from the bank. And Lacey herself, sitting in the corner on her meditation cushion, with her arms folded, looking like someone had run her carefully curated afternoon completely off the rails. When I walked in, the room went quiet, the way rooms go quiet when the person everyone has been waiting for finally shows up. Roy stepped forward and handed me a folder. Contracts are executed. Wire transfer for the first quarter is confirmed. Please, Gary. I walked past him to my old desk. Someone had swapped my chair for an exercise ball. I looked at it for a second, then I kicked it across the room. It bounced off the glass wall with a clean, solid thud and rolled to a stop near the window. I pulled over a regular chair, sat down, opened my laptop, and plugged into the hardline port under the desk. The terminal screen was solid red. Wall-to-wall error messages, system lockdown active, biometric authentication required to proceed. I typed my username, Gary Ops Prime, entered my password, placed my thumb on the reader. Biometric confirmed. Resuming sync, reconciling inventory data. Restoring lender feed, releasing dispatch holds 30 seconds. That's all it took. The screen went from red to green like a traffic light changing, and somewhere in the building I heard a phone start ringing. Then another. Then the whole floor came back to life the way an engine turns over after a cold start, a little rough, then steady, then running like nothing ever happened. Roy exhaled. Half the room exhaled with him. I closed the laptop and stood up. Inventory is live. Trucks will receive corrected routing in 90 seconds. Lenders will see restored collateral figures within 5 minutes. I looked at Lacey. She was staring at the floor. My team reports at 8 a.m. tomorrow. The meditation cushions go in the dumpster tonight, and I want the oak conference table back before end of week. I picked up my jacket and walked to the elevator. In the lobby, Dale gave me a nod as I passed. Outside, the night air was cold and clean after the stuffiness of the 35th floor. I sat in my truck for a minute before starting it. My phone buzzed Steve Okafor, Delivered to Joliet at 4:47 p.m. Hospital signed off, heading back now. Everything okay on your end? I typed back. All good. Nice work today, Steve. His reply came fast. Always safe drive home, Mr. Gary. I started the truck. Before I pulled out, I called my son's sophomore year at the University of Minnesota, studying mechanical engineering, which I take some credit for. Dad, kind of late. You okay? Better than okay, I said. Just wanted to call. Hey, you know what? The best way is to make someone understand what something's worth. What? Let them spend one day without it. He laughed. What did you do? I'll tell you at Thanksgiving. Get some sleep. I drove to the all-night diner on Route 9 and ordered a steak. Ate it slow. Didn't check my phone once. Sometimes the old ways work best. Vibe check complete. The people who actually keep the lights on are never the ones with the fanciest titles. They're the ones who know what breaks at 2 a.m. and how to fix it before anyone else wakes up. Experience isn't a legacy problem, it's the whole thing. And the day you treat it like a liability is the day you find out exactly what it was worth.